Welcome to another earnings call for Regency Petroleum Company Limited, RPL, listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange since December 2022. Since their listing, RPL has been consistent in joining us every quarter once their unaudited financials are out for a deeper dive into the performance of the company for the previous quarter. So, as we get into the context of Q2 2025 for RPL, I welcome you to join me in inviting Mr. Andrew Williams, CEO of RPL, to the platform once more. Welcome,
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thank you, Renee, and thanks again to the LGI team for providing this opportunity for us to speak to our shareholders and the general public.
Always a pleasure. Over to you, sir.
Okay, and welcome again to our Q2 earnings call 2025 for Regency Petroleum Limited. We will start out with a word of prayer. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we come to you once more at another earnings call, we give you thanks for life. We give you thanks for all that you have given to us, all blessings and mercies upon us. We thank you for this company once more, Father, and we ask that you continue to use us, use the management team, use our directors, use our shareholders, oh Father. Help us to be a part of what you want us to do and do your good will, oh Father. We ask that you continue to keep us safe, each and every one of us. Bless us and keep us safe. Strengthen us in your faith. Help us to continue to abide by your will and help this company also, Father, to continue to do what you want it to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Welcome again once more, everyone. And we are excited about this Q2 earnings call and the performance of Q2. However, I will now hand over to our Executive Vice President, Ms. Amanda Williams. She will now go through our highlights, followed by our CFO with the financial highlights. Welcome, Amanda.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Regency Petroleum's Q2 2025 earnings call for the quarter ended June 30, 2025. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the recent passing of our Human Resources Manager. She was a valued member of the Regency Petroleum family, and her dedication and contributions will be remembered and deeply missed. On behalf of the company, I extend our sincere condolences to her family, friends, and colleagues. This quarter, we navigated a challenging operating environment while continuing to deliver solid results. We've achieved significant growth in profitability, and we've also maintained a strong balance sheet position. So now I'll be going through the highlights. So for Q2 2025, operating revenue totaled 430.3 million compared to 481.9 million in Q2 2024, a decrease of 11%. However, the gross profit increased sharply by 49%, moving from 61.5 million last year to 91.7 million this quarter. Profit before finance costs rose by 60% to 45.9 million, up from 28.7 million in the prior year. Profit after taxation stood at 36 million and representing a 36% increase from last year's 26.5 million. Earnings per share grew from 0.018 to $0.025, a 39% improvement. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Jerry Grant, who will walk us through the financials. Thank you.
Okay, I must say good morning to the Learn Grow Invest team. and to our valued shareholders and other listeners. Okay, let's dwell a little more deeply into the financials. During the period April to June 2025, Regency Petroleum achieved 430.35 million in sales. This is an 11% reduction compared to the comparative period 2024 quarter. Reduction, as was mentioned before, is due mainly to the reduction in the petroleum prices generally between the two periods. Our volume was up by 39%, and that's the volume of liters sold was up by 39% compared to the 2024 quarter. So the main reduction that we are seeing in the dollar value is due mainly to the price per liter. Our gross profit was up 49%, and this was a great achievement as we try to contain price or keep our cost of sales intact, very tight, and to increase our margin. Profit before finance cost was up 60% as we try to contain our admin and general expense costs. This is an ongoing effort by the team. We were able to post a profit of 45 million compared to the 28 million in the prior period. Profit after tax was up at 36%, which brings it to 36 million. And our comprehensive income, profit before the total comprehensive income, is reflecting at 35 million as we account for exchange loss, due to revaluation and the bond. Our earning per share also increased over the period from 0.018 to 0.025, so a nice increase there. We are looking at a graphical representation of the figures that I've just highlighted for those who, prefer this format. Okay, we are gonna look at our balance sheet, which is very strong. Our cash has increased by 45%. This moving from 19 million in the prior period to 27.8 million. Our property, plant, and equipment, that's the fixed asset segment, has also increased, due to the investment in our various gas stations. And the figure has moved from 431 million in the 24 period to 490 million. Our receivables has gone down 14% as we start, when the majority of this now relates to the deposit and lease. And we have started offsetting the lease against our receivables, and we have the lease for the Negril gas station and also for the Spanish Town gas station. So there is a reduction in our receivables. We try to keep our trade receivables under control. And during the quarter, I know there was a reduction compared to even the first quarter of 2024. So we try to be very tight with our trade receivables. Our current portion of long-term borrowing, you see that now is showing 100% as we now reclassify the long-term debt, the bond. That was a 2-year bond, and it's now become due to be paid out 30th of September, which is just a little over a month away. So it's now a current liability for the company. Our accounts payable has increased by 53%, and this now is due mainly to the fact that we have one more gas station in operation. So the various bills would have increased due to that operation, the additional operation, fuel costs. Everything has to be paid given the credit terms that we're working with. So it has increased 53% over the period, more activity showing there. And that's another graphical representation of the balance sheet in terms of the movements. We'll now look at some highlights from our cash flow statements. And it is showing the cash flow from operation whopping 158% increase. During the 2024 quarter, it was showing a negative 36 million. For this quarter, it's now a positive 21 million, and that's showing the growth. The company is on the right path. Cash used by investing activity, negative 1,121, so it's 1,121% negative. That is due merely to the IFRS 16, where we account for the lease, the finance lease. And I will refer that also to the cash provided by financing activity, 560,000%. The IFRS standard, how we account for those various leases, affect how it's reflected in the cash flow, in the statement of cash flow. So those significant increase is really the standard is being in effect, and it's how we account for those lease and lease liability and lease asset. Okay, the graphical representation also of the cash flow highlights. I will now pass over to our CEO, Andrew Williams.
Thank you for that, for the financial highlights, Jerry, and for outlining our financial position as it stands currently. All right, so with regards to our company's outlook, well, we basically have been operating 3 service stations now for 2 quarters, and we are seeing the results from that. And we intend moving forward in the short term for the rest of this year to continue the operation, so we can basically see what our revenues and profits will be like. I'm very pleased to highlight and to experience this high profitability, which I cannot go without saying that this has been our highest profit quarter ever, which goes in line with what we have been speaking about, what we have been working towards as the company and the management team. So we are quite pleased with what we are experiencing currently this last quarter. I know that the quarter prior to this first quarter, we had some non-cash expenses, a lot of expenses that hit us, which we had explained. But for this particular quarter ending June 30th, this quarter has been the highest profit-making quarter for the company. And I cannot go without mentioning that or highlighting that. Now, moving forward, we currently announced that we have the Kingston service station that we were successful on in the bidding process, and we are still in final signing agreements and final sign-offs on that. So no construction has begun on that as yet, but that's still in progress. The Crawford first bus stop, it's a lot of firsts for the company. It has been a lot of firsts over the period of time, and I hope we continue to look towards a lot of first times in the benefit of the company, and something that benefits the company. So the first truck stop that we announced last quarter also, I'm happy to know announce that construction has begun and it's well underway. So it's in full force. So construction has begun on the truck stop in Crawford, St. Elizabeth. This will be a dealer-owned, dealer-operated service station. And we are pleased with what the contractor is doing and the progress thus far. I don't want to name a date as yet, based on what was happening in the past. We don't want to mention a date as to the completion. But so far, construction is on and it's full speed ahead. So we are eagerly anticipating that completion. So as part of our expansion process. Also, we are always ready to make a decision or prudent decisions on any opportunities that might come on our table. You know, I always say that. So what is targeted currently is to continue for the rest of this year to operate these service stations, continue with the construction process of the Crawford, and continue with the processes for the Kingston service station, and have those, and just expedite whatever needs to be expedited so we can move straight ahead into the construction processes for Kingston and have Crawford completed. Again, if anything comes on our table, opportunity for the company or for our shareholders to benefit from, we will definitely do our due diligence on these projects, and as we have done in the past, and ensure that these projects will be feasible and should be successful or will be successful. We have a number of projects now that's on the table. Nothing I can make mention of currently. I am positive that I'll be able to make mention of it in the next quarter or our next earnings call, based on where we are now with the negotiations and where we are with our planning. So I'm not at this moment privy to make any comments on that. But I can tell you that we have some projects on the table now that we are looking at, and I'm positive that I'll be able to make mention of at least one of these projects in our next earnings call or prior to our next earnings call, and we can further discuss it at the earnings call. So right now, to reiterate, we are pleased with this last quarter. We are pleased to be experiencing what we planned for. You know, and again, we have to give God thanks, because we always include him in whatever decision-making processes we do, whatever planning stages we are, whatever management meetings we may have, and our management team, we have to put God first in front to make sure that we make the decisions that he would want us to make. And I'm sure that whatever decisions he would want us to make will be in the benefit of the company and to our shareholders. So in closing on our outlook, I again would like to say, with God in the forefront, I am positive that there's a bright future ahead for the company, as we have been experiencing thus far. I think we can move into our question and answers now. We seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulties, but
Okay, thank you so much for that, Andrew. My apologies to everyone. My internet decided to take a break. So my apologies.
that's all right. That's all right.
We are on to the Q&A segment, and we do have a few questions in the chat, but before we get to that, I do want to say congratulations again to the RPL team. It is a big deal that you have made your are indeed putting the things in place to make or to keep the company profitable and viable as you continue to grow. So congratulations to the team, to the board. It bodes well for you as you move forward. All right. So let's go to the questions that are in the chat, and I will add any others that are missed here as I go along. All right. So the first question comes from the LGI community. Do you have a clear plan to manage expenses as you continue to add more stations to your portfolio?
Well, yes, we managing our expenses is an ongoing thing for the management team. This is something that we evaluate, I would say, daily. You know, I'm not overstating when I say daily. my CFO can tell that we have calls from time to time and say, what can we do to manage our expenses? When I say manage our expenses, I mean like, how do we implement more technology, or what can we do to be more efficient? And at the same time, efficiency would lead to our administrative costs, our expenses being controlled and being fully optimal. So we just want to ensure that we're running efficiently and we are preparing ourselves, which we did. This is just a nature of our company, wherein we always try to prepare ourselves for the future in terms of we are preparing ourselves with different principles and policies within the company to take on a number of ventures to come. So we always try to prepare and embolden ourselves with whatever strategies we need to put in place, so that although we have 3 or 4 service stations, whatever it is now, and the LPG, we are expecting continuous growth across the island as we want to be a household name. So we try to embolden ourselves and target, make targets or put targets in place that when we achieve this, what our expenses will be like, or how our administrative team can operate, what policies, what principles, what strategies we can put in place to ensure that we will be efficient when we have 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever amount of service stations. And if we do go overseas and become a multinational, what we have that core or that foundation in place. So managing our expenses, and we're seeing the results from that, because if you look on previous quarters, you will see our expenses have been changing. Fines in some instances might go up because we have expanded, but if you look at other areas that we try to curb and control and be more efficient and cut costs on certain issues or certain items, that makes up our balance sheet or financials.
All right, that is good to hear, and I'm sure the shareholders can appreciate that, and also appreciate that there will be times that you have to spend more before you start seeing the savings, or before you start seeing the results. For instance, you mentioned putting the processes and plans in place so that you can expand with a framework. Creating that framework, getting your processes in place, getting your people in place, that's going to have an upfront cost that you will recognize. You will have to realize that cost at some point. So thank you for that context. The next question is, what do you forecast profits will be for the remainder of the year? I think Jerry can do.
And Jerry can come in, but we expect a continuous increase over time. As we for the rest of this year, we will just operate unless something comes on the table separately, another opportunity that might come by. If any opportunity comes by that we need to act on immediately, and it will be beneficial to the company. On our forecast thus far, and what we have in place is to continue to operate and to implement and continue what we are doing currently to develop that loyalty amongst our customers, and to be able to increase our profits based on, I don't want to delve too much in the strategies that we implement, but continue to do what we're doing so that we can increase our profits with the current operation that we are doing now, we are at now. So yes, our targets show that we should increase profits quarter over quarter as we move forward. And our target, I don't know if I'm saying too much, my CFO shaking his head, but we have a target of, we want to see if we can at least meet that 100 million profit mark for this year. That's our target. That's what we're trying to achieve, our 100 million profit margin for this year.
It's always good to have a target, so you know what you're working to.
Right. All right, let me just until Renee comes back, just basically state that the company has been performing based on what we have expected, our expectations so far. We have been putting in the work, and we expect to grow significantly because we're starting out at a small company and we expect to grow significantly. So for this year, yes, we're always expecting to see increase in profits, and we putting strategies and plans in place to see significant increases in profits over the medium to long term. You know, so we're on that growth path, and with the help of God, we will be successful or continue to be successful in that increase in profits. You know, we're quite pleased. The management team excited. Everybody is quite pleased with that, with what the performance of so far. Seems like Renee is out still.
What I want to say also is that as much as we are targeting and expecting profit over each quarter, I'm a person who also would like to be very realistic and know that there will be times when you're going to have fluctuation in quarters, and that is normal part of business. Right? There is no cycle that is constantly up and going up, not in this world. So there we have to tamper our expectation with reality of what is happening globally, and also, you know, we as the management team, we try our best. We ensure that the company resources are protected and well guarded, and we manage it prudently. But at the same time, you know, we have to be realistic that we are living in the real world. So there are going to be times when a quarter going to be off, but at the same time, we're going to try our endeavor best to ensure that we make up, and we'll do our best to make it as profitable as possible.
Well done. Well done. Thank you for that, Jerry.
Yes.
So the next question is about the projects, right? Do you have a project manager on the RPL team now? Andrew, you had mentioned in your Outlook section that there are a number of projects on the table. And as a project manager myself, of course, I go into that mode and think about all that it takes to manage the number of projects that you guys have on the table and to do so well. So do you have someone who is central and helping you to manage those various projects day to day?
All right. Again, in going back to managing our costs, right? We do not see it necessary to employ or have a project manager per se in place until a project is being executed. Now, The only project that is currently being executed is the Crawford project, which is a dealer owned and dealer operated. So our management team in-house is able to keep a track of that since it's been constructed. The capital expenditure is being taken on by the dealer that will be operating the service station. So we, Regency Petroleum, is not currently executing any projects now. Whenever we are executing a project, yes, we will see it necessary to have a project manager on site. But we are, as again, managing our expenses, we don't want to employ unnecessary staffing or personnel if it's not needed. Our management team is quite competent to administer what is taking place currently.
And we do have operations manager who
right. So we have an operations manager who will go and report. So and do visits or whatever. Now, for projects that are on the table, we would not at this point in time need a project manager as yet. It will be again the management team, myself, which is very intimate. So I'm usually very intimate in the negotiations, at the negotiation stage and the planning stage. So right now, headed by me and the management team, we will look at the projects that we have on the table and do our due diligence on them, do our evaluations or projections with our CFO and just to see how feasible these projects are and how profitable they will be or should be. And we try to, as you can see, my CFO is quite realistic. So he keeps me in line when it comes down to my over optimism. So when we are doing our planning and our projections, he's the one who actually draws the back in line and say, no, well, let us be realistic and try to see the worst case scenario, which, I mean, I always also request the worst case scenario in our evaluations. So I know I'm going out quite a bit, but the projects on the table, we are in the negotiation stage now, and it takes some time for us to basically nail it properly, so it can be beneficial and feasible for the company and profitable. For everyone to benefit, the shareholders, everyone to benefit.
Of course. All right. The next question is, what is the plan? And we should expect this one, right? What is the plan to repay the debt that is now current?
If Jerry want to take that one, because he's more detailed.
All right, yes. The plan is that we are seeking a commercial bank to we're converting the debt now to basically a bank loan. So the bank, commercial bank, will pay off the bondholders, and we will service that debt as a normal loan payment, monthly payment. Portion goes toward principal, portion goes toward interest paid down. So we are in negotiation. The process has started, and we are basically going through that process. So come September 30th, hopefully everything will be on track. We will just liquidate the bond and just service that commercial loan.
Understood. All right. I hope that's an adequate answer for the one for your shareholder.
Well, I can explain it a bit. One second. Okay. All right. I'm going to bring it back a few years ago when we just got listed, and it's probably a year into our listing on the stock exchange. Just as I mentioned earlier, you will have times when our opportunities will come on our table, and we will need to act on it immediately. Now, being a recently listed company on the stock exchange at the time, this opportunity actually came on the table. So I remind you, this bond is with regards to the Kingston service station that was opened January this year. Should have been opened a year prior to January this year, or 8 to 9 months prior to this year, which we had planned for, so we could earn from these service stations, this service station in particular, to service the bond. However, so we had to immediately, we did our projections, did our diligence, and saw how feasible this project would have been on Spanish Town Road. So we acted immediately, considering that we had our competitors in line also negotiating on this particular project. So we had to find a way to navigate through and act on this opportunity immediately, considering that we're just a recently listed company, a company that needs to grow. We are looking towards growing across the island. So we saw this as a great opportunity for us, which now has proven to be was a prudent decision, because based on what we are seeing now, based on the results that we are seeing now, we are seeing the results of that. Just in the second quarter, just after operating 6 months, we can see that impact on our financials. So we are even more convinced now that decision at that time to jump and immediately take advantage of the opportunity that was on the table. And we took, it was at the time, It was a US dollar bond that was readily available. So, I know most of you in business or persons, individuals would know that going to the bank for a loan, regardless of what position you are in, takes some time for a regular commercial loan to be approved. Now, at the time, the best opportunity on the table for us to execute immediately was a bond that was offered to us, which we negotiated terms that very extremely, in my opinion, it was excellent terms considering the bond and the timeline. And we negotiated the bond, we executed, and we now are benefiting from that decision. So we had some delays in the construction process and the commencement, but we are overcome that. We are now operating, which is why I go back to what I said earlier, that we want to operate this year. We have seen the best quarter ever in profitability, and that is made up of the Kingston service station operations. Also, it contributed significantly to that, along with our other service stations. So each station contributes, and what we are doing, LPG, everything is contributing, and we are seeing the benefits of what we are putting in place. So right now, being in the growth stage, we have the time where we can go ahead, instead of paying down or paying a significant amount towards the bond. It's our decision now to seek a long-term commercial loan, which we have gotten. We have not just went to a bank. We have gotten proposals from about 3 to 4, CFO can correct me, 3 to 4 institutions, commercial banks, that we have met with and our directors have looked at, and we have decided, or we're in the process of deciding on what avenue to take, which is in the best interest of the company and best interest of our shareholders. So we are quite confident with where we are now, and quite more, I can tell you, we are a lot more comfortable with what we have decided to do. It will allow the company's cash flow to be more significant, more greater, and we'll be able now to continue our expansion process. Taking this, and we'll be paying down principal and interest at the same time. So I'm quite comfortable with all decisions that have been made. I couldn't be more comfortable with all decisions that have been made up to this point and the results that we are seeing from these decisions.
All right.
Answer the question.
I'm sure more than answered the question. Thank you for that. And I got back right in time. I had to. All right, so we're going right into the next question. How is the LPG business performing?
Okay, the LPG is performing as expected also. We have done some investment recently over the last 4 or 5 months in our LPG household cylinders, and we are seeing it also contributed to the increase in profits that you are seeing. Because remember now, having an increase, and my CFO can correct me, having such an increase are the highest profit quarter ever. It is so significant for the company because this year especially, we have come up, or we have to account for, and he can correct me, some non-cash expenses. So operating over the past 1 to 2 years, we wouldn't have these non-cash expenses on our financials, on our profit and loss statement. We have to take into account these non-cash expenses starting this year, and which is what had hit our first quarter also. So it hit our first quarter. It's also accounted for in the second quarter, but the profitability was so significant that we could account for these non-cash expenses, account for other expenses, and still experience the highest profit quarter ever. And it's not only the gas station in Kingston or the operation of these gas stations, but also it's failure of mine not to really emphasize on the LPG, which is totally wrong. The LPG has also contributed significantly it has contributed more than usual towards the financials this last quarter based on what we have been investing organically. So we have not, if you notice, Regency Petroleum to this date doesn't really have that big loan portfolio per se. The loan portfolio that we carry to date would be for the bond for our service station, which we are it's clearly seen. We are operating thus far based on our profitability. We are paying our expenses based on our profitability. We are operating and making profits. Not taking loans yet unless needed. Unless we see it fit to take loans or whatever to increase. So the LPG to increase our investment. So the LPG business now, we are seeing results from the investment on the household side, where I stated earlier this year that we will be investing on our household cylinder. When I say household, 25 pound or 100 pound cylinders, and we are expanding across. We are expanding currently in the corporate era for the household cylinders. You will soon see our cylinders in the corporate era, primarily our 100 pound cylinders, and this is a result of our investment that we have been doing since the beginning of this year. And you will see some of the results so far from the financials, and are hoping to see increased results in the next coming quarter.
Okay, thank you for that. So I know in terms of the LPG, it was at one point the much larger percentage of your revenues, of your income. But now that you have service stations, naturally the numbers for the service stations would be much larger than the ones for the LPG. But it's still an important and a significant part of the business. So we don't ever want to lose sight of that as well. I do want to go back a little bit to the question about the funding. Sean Murray has higher interest rates than the bond based on current rates. Are there any plans after to either do an equity raise or another bond raise?
I cannot comment too much on that as yet, considering that we have some projects now on the table. If we're going to do an equity raise or a bond raise, again, we have to finalize on the projects that we have on the table now based on where I sit now and what we are looking at. We have a number of projects on the table. So after we have decided what we're going to execute on, then we can decide how we are going to finance that or those projects. So it's a little bit too early right now to decide on that, because we have to make some further decisions on what we're going to execute on. And then now we can package everything together and decide how we are going to raise funds to execute these projects.
Understood. Thank you. What is your current staff count?
Our current staff count is 77. So 77 members of staff. That includes pump attendants, all members of staff.
All right. Thank you for that. What is your current dividend policy, and when is the likely timeline for your first dividend payment?
Jerry, I don't know. We had a discussion recently in our board meeting about this dividend policy. Jerry is more intimate on that.
Yes, okay. I am not at liberty to we have discussion on it in our last board meeting, and the policy basically is in place, but I don't basically have a copy on me right now, and we're still tweaking and all of that. So it will be made public in short order.
And I can tell you, yes, we are anticipating that dividend payment. We are anticipating having a dividend payment. We are put parts of the plans that we have on the table now. A part of it is geared towards, indirectly, in some manner, it's geared towards our dividend policy and payments that we would want to have in place. So yes, it is of priority for us, dividend policy and payment. So as I said, we wanted to operate with just the 2 quarters with everything settled. This is the first quarter, I would say. As I said to my CFO, the first quarter we basically operate without any major projects that we are doing that would take that expenditure from the company. So let us see what happens over the next quarter and the other quarter to come before the end of the year, and we see where we are. But it's still it's a top priority, definitely.
All right. That is good to hear. I do recall at the AGM, there was a question around the dividend policy as well. And reference was made to the prospectus about the policy being developed. So it's good to hear that the board is indeed discussing that and that the team has that as a priority matter. The next question is, which quarter is usually your best quarter?
Well, that is a difficult question to answer, really, because it's a company in the growth stage. You find that when we anticipate that a quarter should be our best quarter, we have projects going on, we have other things going on that would affect our bottom line. You know, as I said, over the last 3 years, we have been having projects, Paradise, Negril, Kingston. Or it is a little bit, and this is from me, I don't know if Jerry has something to say, that it's a little bit, there's no trend as yet, really, where we say, boy, our second quarter should be our best quarter, or the fourth quarter, Christmas season, our best quarter. We have not reached to that stage where we can single out a trend to say, and that is my opinion based on what I'm seeing here, to determine quarter per se, to say that quarter is usually our best quarter. What I'm expecting now is increases quarter over quarter, and then I would say probably in a few more quarters we can determine, say, our second quarter is our best artist. But right now it's a balancing act for us. As I said, our management team meet almost every day, whether remotely, online, or in person, to discuss trends that we have been seeing amongst our stations and to see what we can do to make everything more efficient, or maintain the efficiency and be more optimal in our operations.
All right, thank you for that. Sean is asking, what is the current interest rate on the outgoing bond, and what does the interest rate look like for the bank loans being offered?
Jerry can answer that one.
Okay, the bond was 8.5, and it's a US bond. We are looking now at a Jamaican denominated loan, and I think it's very attractive. It's 8.7, and it's well, that's fixed for 3 years, and it's getting lower after that 3 years. So it's a downward push after 3 years, which seems very, very attractive too. And that's after various options. You know, that seems to be the best, most attractive one.
And the good thing about this loan payment is that we will be paying principal and interest, as opposed to with the bond you're paying strictly interest alone. So personally, I am inclined to push for the commercial loan. You're paying down your principal as you go along.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for that insight. Jerome is asking, what has better net profit margins, the cooking gas or petroleum?
Well, the cooking gas for sure would carry higher margins, for sure. Higher margins, higher capital expenditure, higher risk. So with higher capital expenditure and higher risk results in higher margins. That's the formula.
All right. All right, thank you. Next question is, what impact will refinancing have on your finance costs and in turn your profits?
Well, that's you have some upfront costs. I can say for sure you're gonna have some upfront costs and your finance costs for whatever quarter it go through, maybe the third quarter. But over time, the company will be in a better position in terms of that we are paying down our debt that we have, and it's been over multiple years. So we're spreading the costs over multiple years, so it's low, and the interest rate is very attractive. So over time, that monthly cost will seem less significant over time as as inflation and everything else get higher. In fact, based on the amortization schedule and the negotiation we have, the monthly payment is not fixed, but is gonna reduce as time goes by.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Jerome says he thinks the question on everyone's mind is, will we be able to park at the station at the airport while we wait to pick up our families?
Well, that's we we're not able to answer that question as yet, but I can tell you it will have the facility there. I don't know.
I think that is just pulling your legs.
Yeah.
I think so.
Besides lower fuel prices.
Yes, there was a reduction in trucking during the period.
Okay. And that was a reduction in the cost for the trucking because there was less transportation, or is there just a
Yes, all right.
change?
Remember the Sablama location was closed, and as I said, it is primarily a sentimental location. So it has less storage facility. So you find that we would have to do more haulage to maintain the operation there, which it has been closed for some time now. So that haulage expense would have been reduced.
Understood. Thank you. And the last question I'm seeing for now is from Jerome. If cooking gas has higher margins, why haven't we heard recently a targeted push to grow that line?
Well, I'm happy for that question. The LPG, the cooking gas, is very, very, very risky business. You are and very capital intensive. So I cannot say this enough that you will be investing the cost to construct a service station. And if you were to divert that expenditure into LPG cooking gas, first of all, that expenditure would merely be adequate to suffice for one parish, first of all, regardless of the parish. So that capital expenditure for the cylinders, and now you're talking about a risky product entering that parish with our competitors, and you have the cost of, the chances of losing these cylinders. You're not selling back these cylinders to the consumers. You're merely charging a user fee, which doesn't even make up 20% of the cost. If you're gonna market the product in a particular location, so you have to absorb some of these costs. You cannot sell or replace or get back your cost from the consumer for these cylinders. You only can charge a user fee, and you find that if you don't have a proper control system in place, which is the main challenge or the main obstacle in the LPG business, is to control these cylinders. When you send them out in various households, it's very difficult for you to control these. However, we have strategies in place, which is why we haven't say, gone out to do an equity raise or a bond or a loan to invest heavily in cooking gas as yet, because we need to develop these strategies, which we have been trying and proving. And we have some successful ways so far wherein we can maintain a certain level of control. I'm not going to say we're going to maintain total control now. So in our evaluations and calculations, we have to account for losses based on the investment. So we need to, up until the point where we can reduce those losses down to a minimal, where we can absorb these losses in terms of losing the cylinders and the cost that is involved, and still end up at the bottom line being the profit margin still maintaining a certain level, which we are very close by that now. We can then move forward, which is why I always say, boy, I'm hoping by the end of this year we can do a heavy investment in the LPG. But we have to develop these strategies first and ensure that try it and prove it what we currently have, which is why we organically grow the LPG business. We allow the profits that is being earned from the LPG now to reinvest back into the LPG. It is not used for anything else. All the profits from LPG is put back into the LPG for it to grow organically. And when we, which we are seeing the results from now, and when we employ these strategies that we have put in place, and we have a relationship with our customers, we develop a confidence. We develop a confidence to know that yes, we are ready to invest heavily because we have these strategies in place, we have this network in place, and we can now control our losses and control how we move forward to be profitable. You know, we don't want to go out and not be confident that what we are doing and the investment that we are putting in will reap the rewards. You know, so as I said, it's a work in progress, and that's why we decided to grow it organically. So yes, our intention is to become a household name. Not only when I say household name, you know, it's not really geared towards gas stations, and it's really geared towards our LPG. You know, so let me clarify that now. So whenever I mention household, I really household name, I'm really mentioning we want the LPG to be a Jamaican-owned company that is a household name in Jamaica for our cooking gas. So it takes time. We have been listed now for 3 years. I'm going 3 years, I think, going 3 years now, 2.5 years, and I think we have made some significant accomplishments with regards to that. We have to just carefully tread along with it.
Indeed, you have. So thank you for that, Andrew. That was very comprehensive, and I think your shareholders would appreciate that explanation. So my last question is really for Amanda. So Amanda, this was your first time joining us. Can we expect to see more of you? And can you share with us what your role is and how it is that you are now playing a part in the company? What can we expect from Amanda?
So yes, the plan is for me to be included into these more often. And as for my role, I am the executive vice president of Regency Petroleum, and I do also work behind the scenes. And I am currently working remotely. I currently go to university in the States. Um, so yeah, you'll definitely be hearing more from me. I'll be traveling pretty often for events as often as I can. And yeah, that's basically it.
All right, thank you so much. It is always great to see the succession planning in place and the expansion of the team. Daniel has a follow-up question. Is the SAB location currently fully operational?
No, not as yet. Not as yet. It's still the nature of what took place and the nature of the products or items that were involved. Primary tires and lubricants, engine oils. It's a very tedious thing to clean up and to dispose of, and we have to involve the various agencies. And it's not on Regency partner. This is talking about me being attached to it by a family business. So it, it is still a bit hazardous to complete or to begin operations at the Savile location until all cleanups are complete and everything is back to some normalcy.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much to the Regency team as always. Thank you to the audience, shareholders, participants. Thank you for the questions and just the interaction. It has been an insightful meeting. I will ask you, Andrew, if you have any closing remarks, anything that you'd like to share with your audience before we go.
Okay, well, as always, I'd like to thank our shareholders for the confidence that they have displayed in the company. I realize that Regency Petroleum is a investor demanded company based on our stock and its advances that it has made over the time. And I would like to just share that we intend for our company to grow to its fullest. We want a Jamaican company, and this is my dream, our dream, to have a Jamaican company becoming a multinational and be recognized globally in the petroleum industry. And we are on our way there. I can mention that we were recognized from the Financial Times, as one of the fastest growing companies for 2025 globally. And we take much pride in that, and I mean, we're overwhelmed with that award, and it is also encouraging for us, for the company, and it should be encouraging for our shareholders also. We try to be very transparent in all our operations. When we have a bad quarter, we have a good quarter, whichever quarter it is, we see it necessary to communicate at all times with our investors, because you are a part of the company also. So and it's a Jamaican-owned company that it's for Jamaicans to be a part of. We want to expand and grow together. So we always see it necessary for us to engage you in a conversation like now, where you can ask your questions and have them answered hopefully adequately for you. We try our best to answer it to the fullest. And we put God first, because I don't have to say anything more. We can see the results of the company from inception till now, and it's clearly on a growth path. It's clearly being successful, and we continue to put God in the forefront and have all faith in Him that He will direct us along the right path. So until we meet again on our next earnings call, I hope to have more good news to share with our shareholders and the general public, general audience. Thank you.